Hello 7th grade, this is Miss White, and today we're doing the Mid-Module 3 Study Guide. Number 1, write an equivalent expression in standard form and collect like terms. We're going to be following these directions for both A and B. So for A, I have 3x plus x plus 4. Because I see parentheses, that means multiplication. So now I'm going to be distributing our addition sign to the values in my parentheses. Okay, when I distribute that sign, that means I have 3x plus x plus 4. Now that I've distributed my sign, I'm going to collect like terms. So I see that 3x plus x are the same term, and plus 4 is a different term. So I'm going to combine my x terms. 3x plus x is going to give me 4x, and then I have plus 4. Because plus 4 does not have an x associated with it, it is not the same term, so we cannot combine them. That being that our answer is 4x plus 4. That is it. Let's move on to B. So for B, I have 7x minus 6x minus 5. So again, I'm going to distribute my negative sign to the values inside of my parentheses. Now this time, this is a little different. I need to look at the values inside my parentheses and decide what the outcome of these values are going to be. I know that 7x is going to stay the same because it is outside of my parentheses. Now let's distribute the minus sign. The rule is when we distribute the minus sign, that means the values in the parentheses change. They become its opposite. So here I have positive 6x. Well, what's the opposite of positive 6x? Well, that is negative 6x. Then I look at negative 5 here. What is the opposite of negative 5? Well, that is positive 5. So now that I have this written out, I need to combine like terms. I know that 7x and 6x are the same term, and 5 is a completely different term. So now I'm going to combine 7x minus 6x to give me 1x plus 5. Again, we do not combine the x and the 5 because they are not the same term. So we're going to leave our expression like this, x plus 5. Now looking at both A and B, we have solved for the first expression and we have turned them both into standard form. Let's move on to number 2. Riley is building a rectangular flower bed. She wants the length of the flower bed to be 7 times longer than the width. What are the dimensions, which we're talking about the length and the width, of the flower bed if Riley has 80 feet of fence? So first of all, let's draw our flower bed. We're making our flower bed a rectangle. For a rectangle, we know that we have our widths and our lengths. And in our problem, it tells us that she wants the length to be 7 times longer than the width. So we know that the length is going to equal to 7w. Now for the border of her flower bed, she is going to be using part of a fence. In our problem, it tells us that she has 80 feet of fence to use. So that is going to be the total amount of our perimeter because again, we're trying to find the border, and which means that we are going to be trying to find the perimeter. So we're going to have P equals, now we will write something in here, but we know that our perimeter is going to equal to 80 feet. So now I need to look at how many widths do I have in my problem. Well, I have 1, 2. Now how many lengths do I have? I have 1, 2. So in my problem, I'm going to write in factored form the equation 2 times width plus length. This means that I have 2 widths and 2 lengths. So now I'm actually going to be using substitution for my length. We know that length equals 7w. So now I'm going to substitute 7w in for my length. So now my equation is 2 times w plus 7w equals 80. Now when I look inside my parentheses, I see now that I have the same like terms. I have w plus 7w. Because they're the same term, we can combine them. So now I have 2 times w plus 7w, which is going to give me 8w, equals 80. Now when I have the parentheses, I know that 2 times 8w is going to give me 16w, equals 80. Now I'm still trying to find the width. That's what w means. We're finding the width. So how are we going to get w by itself? Well, here I have 16w. That means I have 16 times w. This is a multiplication problem. So if I am using multiplication and I need to get w by itself, what inverse am I going to multiply 16 by? Well, I am going to multiply 16 by its multiplicative inverse. And the multiplicative inverse of 16 is 1 over 16. So now I have 1 over 16 times 16w equals 80. And what I do to one side, I have to do to the other, 1 over 16. Now the rule is that when we have a value, which is 16 here, times its multiplicative inverse, which is 1 over 16, we get the value of 1. So now we have 1w. And if you just want to write w there, that works too, because that represents 1w. Now I have 80 times 1, which is going to give me 80. And then my denominator of 1 times 16 is going to give me 16. Now you're going to take your calculator and you're going to solve for w equals 80 divided by 16. 80 divided by 16 is going to give us 5. So we know now that the width of the fence is going to be 5 feet. Now let's solve for the length. We know that the length is going to be 7 times the width. So we have L equals 7W. Now we're going to substitute 5 in for W. So now I have L equals 7 times 5. 7 times 5 is going to give us 35. So now I know that the length is 35 feet. All right, let's go on to number 3. A picture 7 feet long is to be centered on a wall that is 13 feet long. How much space is there from the edge of the wall to the picture? Solve the problem algebraically. Let's first draw a picture of our wall. So here is our wall, and we know that our wall is 13 feet long. Now we're going to put a picture in it, and the picture is said to be 7 feet long. And it is going to be centered on the wall. So what it's asking us is how much space is there from the edge of the wall to the picture. So what it wants is from the edge of the wall to the picture. So here and here. Because we don't know this, we can use x for the variables of our unknown space. Now when I set up this equation, I'm going to have x plus 7 plus x, because those are what are given to us for the total amount of the wall, and we're solving for x. What is our total length of the wall? 13. So we're going to have equals 13. Now I'm going to combine my like terms. So here I know that the terms x and x are the same, and then 7 is the only term by itself. x plus x is going to give me 2x, and now I have 2x plus 7. We do not combine 2x plus 7 because they are not the same term. Now I know that 2x plus 7 equals 13. So my goal is to figure out what x is. First, let's look at our term that has x, which is 2x. Here's our term. Do we have any other terms in our problem here? Yes, we have 7. Now is 7 being added or multiplied? It is being added. So that means that we're going to use the additive inverse. What is the additive inverse of 7? Well, the additive inverse of 7 is negative 7. So when I rewrite out my problem, I have 2x plus 7 minus 7 equals 13 minus 7. Great. Now I'm going to go ahead and combine my like terms. I have 2x plus 7 minus 7, which is 0, equals 13 minus 7, which is 6. Now I know that 2x equals 6. Now, we're still trying to solve for x. Here, I have 2x. 2x means 2 times x, which is a multiplication problem. Because it's a multiplication problem, we're going to find our multiplicative inverse. What is the multiplicative inverse of 2? Well, that is 1/2. Remember, when we multiply on one side, we have to multiply on the other side. So now both sides are being multiplied by 1/2. A value, which in this case is 2, times its multiplicative inverse, which is 1/2, always equals 1. So now I have 1x. And you might be thinking, well, Miss White, how is this be? Well, let's think about this. If I have 1/2 times 2, to make my 2 a fraction so I can multiply it by 1/2, I can put a 1 underneath of it. So now I have 1 times 2, which is 2, as my numerator. Then I have 2 times 1, which is 2 for my denominator. I know that 2 over 2 is going to give me 1. Now I have 1x equals 6 times 1/2. When I get 6 times 1/2, I get 6 over 2. Now to find the value for x, I need to know 6 divided by 2. 6 divided by 2 is going to give me 3. So how much space is there from the edge of the wall to the picture? Well, there is going to be 3 feet. So again, here, there's 3 feet in both spaces. Now let's go ahead and start problem 4. In August, Isaiah begins school shopping for school supplies. He bought pencils for $10 and 6 binders for $D each. He spent a total of $32.50. Write and solve an equation to find the cost of one binder. The first step is that we need to write an equation. I'm going to write an equation that helps me solve for how much each binders cost by using the variable D. Let's figure out our total first. It says that he spent a total of $32.50. So that means that his whole shopping trip equal to $32.50. And so in our equation on the right side, we're going to have $32.50. Now on the right side, that's where we're going to put all his expenses. So we know he bought pencils for $10. So now we're going to have 10 plus 6 binders for $D each. We know that he bought 6 binders, but we don't know how much they cost. So we're going to let D represent the value of each binder. So now we have 10 plus 6D equals $32.50. Now we need to solve the equation to find the cost of one binder. That means we need to solve for the variable D. To start solving for the variable D, let's look at the term other than D on the left side of the equation. The other term other than D is 10. So we need to ask ourselves, is this 10 adding or is it multiplying? Well, it is adding. So we're going to need to find the additive inverse of 10. The additive inverse of 10 is negative 10. So I'm going to apply negative 10 to both sides. So now I have 10 minus 10 plus 6d equals 3250 minus 10. Now I need to combine my like terms. So now I have 10 minus 10, which is going to give me 0. I have 0 plus 6d equals 3250 minus 10, which is going to give me 2250. Now that I know that 6d equals 2250, I need to figure out how am I going to make this 6d a 1d. To do that, I'm going to look at 6d. What kind of problem is 6d? Well, it is a multiplication problem. So if it's a multiplication problem, what inverse do I need to find? Well, I need to find the multiplicative inverse. So what is the multiplicative inverse of 6? Well, the multiplicative inverse of 6 is 1/6. So we're going to multiply both sides by 1/6 because what we do to one side, we have to do to the other. Now, the rule is if we have a value times its multiplicative inverse, it gives us the answer of 1. So now we have 1d equals 2250 divided by 6 equals 2250 divided by 6. So now this is when you would take out your calculator to figure out d. 2250 divided by 6. 2250 divided by 6 is going to give us 375. Now, we know the cost for each binder is $3.75. Number 5. Ella wants to have her birthday party at the bowling alley with a few of her friends, but she can spend no more than $100. The bowling alley charges a flat fee of $50 for a private party and $5 per person for shoe rentals and unlimited bowling. A. Write an inequality that represents the total cost of Ella's birthday for P people given budget. When we talk about inequalities, we're talking about our less than, greater than, less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to signs. Now we first need to write our equation. We know that she can spend no more than $100. So she can either spend $100 or less. To represent that, the $100 is the most she can spend. So everything is going to have to be less than or equal to the $100. Now that we have our less than or equal to sign, we need to look at the rest of the problem. It says the bowling alley charges a flat fee of $50 and $5 per person for shoe rentals. We're going to let P represent the amount of people she invites. So now we have 5P. B. How many people can Ella pay for, including herself, while staying within the limitations of her budget? So we know that the equation we're going to use is 5P plus 50 is less than 100. Now we are going to solve for P. To get P by itself, we need to look at the other term first, which is 50. Is the term 50 adding or multiplying? Well, it is adding, so we need to know the additive inverse of 50. The additive inverse of 50 is going to give us negative 50. So I'm going to add negative 50 to both sides. Now I'm going to combine the like terms. And now I'm going to have the inequality of 5P plus 0 is less than or equal to 50. Because 100 minus 50 gives us 50. Now I know that 5P is less than or equal to 50. Again, I'm still trying to get P by itself, so I need to somehow turn 5P into 1P. To do that, I'm going to look at 5P and tell myself that it is a multiplication problem because 5P means 5 times P. So because it's a multiplication problem, I need to know my multiplicative inverse. The multiplicative inverse of 5 is 1/5. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 1/5. Now, a value times its multiplicative inverse is always going to give us 1. So now I have 1p is less than or equal to 50 divided by 5. Now, I know that p is less than or equal to 10. So how many people can Ella pay for, including herself, while staying within the limitations of her budget? And that is a total of 10 people. 6. The 3 lines shown in the diagram below intersect at the same point. The measures of the angles in degrees are given as 4x degrees, 60 degrees, and 80 degrees. A. Write and solve an equation that can be used to find the value of x. So here is our picture of our angles. We know that the total amount of all of our angles here is 160 degrees because it makes a circle. Here we know that it's 160 degrees because it makes a circle. Now on your study guide, these angles were not given, but I am going to give them to you here. So we are going to have 80 degrees here, 60 degrees, and 4x. Now we know the total amount of degrees used is 360. And so now we're going to fill in all our information from our angles on the left side of our equation. So we have 80 plus 60 plus 4x plus 80 plus 60 plus 4x. Now, let's kind of look here and see which terms are the same, and then we will combine them. So here I have 4x plus 4x. 4x plus 4x is going to give me a total of 8x. Then I need to combine my other terms. I have 80 plus 60, which is going to give me 140, plus 60, that's going to give me 200, and plus 80, that's going to give me 280. Again, you can use a calculator to solve for that addition problem. Now I have ax plus 280 equals 360. Now I'm still solving for x, so I need to get x by itself. To get x by itself, I'm going to use the additive inverse of 280 on both sides. So now I have 8x plus 280 minus 280 equals 360 minus 280. Now let's combine the like terms. I now have 8x plus 0 equals 360 minus 280, which is going to give me 80. We're still solving for x. I know that 8x equals 80. Because we have 8x, which means 8 times x, that means we need to find the multiplicative inverse of 8, and that is going to be 1/8. So I'm going to multiply 1/8 on both sides of my equal sign. Now I have the multiplicative inverse of 8 times 8, which is going to give me 1x. 1x equals 80 over 8. So now when I solve for x, I'm going to have x equals 10 degrees.